Welcome back, everyone, to this week one edition of Bruce Monnin's Computer Points podcast. I'm Bruce Monnin, your host, broadcasting from the slightly chilly studios in the basement here in Minster, Ohio. Maybe even a little more than slightly chilly. I even have the vent closed. I don't understand. Also, as you hear, checking in from a little further south in the greater Cincinnati area, we have our co-host, executive producer, and chief researcher, Rebekah Monnin.
Happy to be here. Also a little chilly, but that's a good thing. It means my air conditioning's working. It wasn't last week.
Always a bad thing this time of year when the air conditioning stopped working.
Thankfully, it went out on that 3-day stretch we had where it hit a max of like 70 and was 50 in the mornings. It was beautiful.
Speaking of temperatures, we'll get to it in a little bit. I have a little bonus time going right now. Not only do we have the high school football season starting up and college football coming, there was actually a game or two this week. I saw one game played in Ireland. That was kind of fun.
Ooh.
I don't know why. It was like Florida State and Georgia Tech. I don't see a lot of Irish in either of those fan bases, but
I'm guessing the ESPN was trying to stir up a fan base to get some more people buying their app subscription.
Best thing I can figure. The NFL just had their last scrimmages, and so I forgot to look, but must mean the NFL starts this week, but I really don't know because I have been spending the last 9 days watching the Vuelta a Espana bike race.
Of course.
Takes up my days. Yes. Speaking of the heat, they decided to start the race in southern Spain. It's been 100 degrees most days. The riders are not happy people.
No, they wouldn't be.
For those of you unfamiliar, the Vuelta a Espana or Tour of Spain is one of three-week-long bicycle races. You've all heard of the Tour de France. For you golfing fans out here, the Tour de France, or I should say the Vuelta a Espana, is to the major bicycle races, kind of like the PGA Championship is to the 4 major golf tournaments. Everyone knows the Masters and the U.S. Open and the British Open, and then they have this kind of PGA tournament thing on the side that, if it wasn't a major, no one would care about. That's the Vuelta a Espana.
Oh, no. I would put it on like equal footing with the Giro d'Italia. Is that not?
Yeah, you could.
Is that not how it's perceived in the bicycling world?
Not really, no. You know, it's late in the year, it's hot. Most of them want to stop for the year. The Olympics are over. However, I find it the most interesting of all the bike races of the whole year. Lots of big attacks, lots of people changing spots in the order. Some new guy that's in 20th place ends up in second after he goes away and runs away for 5 minutes from all the others. It's quite interesting to me. And my personal favorite, Primož Roglič, desperately trying to contain all these people and win his 4th Vuelta a España. So it's been a rollicking, wide open race that I enjoy quite a bit. So fun for me this week.
Rollicking?
Rollicking, yes.
Like frolicking without the F?
Kind of. Actually, the last time I heard that word used was there's a bike ride across Iowa every.
Mm-hmm.
It takes 7 days and people drink heavily on it. And they refer to that as a rollicking good time.
A rollicking good. Yeah, that's a word. Wow. Huh. Good for it.
It's good. I can increase your vocabulary there, Rebekah.
Yeah, it's been increased. Rollicking. Now in my lexicon.
Ooh, lexicon. All right. And by the way, just to emphasize how the sport of professional cycling tends to go, my man Primož Roglič, who's in second place, he still has broken vertebrae left over from the Tour de France. He says his back hurts quite a bit at the end of each stage.
Oh, no. Let him go home.
Oh.
Primož, it's okay to stop.
But anyway, enough of that. On to high school football, week 1 results.
Yes, please. None of them are playing with a broken back.
I sure hope not. That's for sure. As usual, we're going to start with Division 1. It's week 1, so there's not a lot of deep, in-depth computer point analysis to go into yet this week. We will emphasize who the winners were, who the losers were, and maybe point out a couple of upsets that could help spring some teams into playoff contention, or possibly some upsets that might make teams a little bit iffy later in the year if they don't get things turned around. So we don't really know. It's week one. Who knows what's going to happen week two? But we're going to give it a shot anyway. So starting Division One, Region One, there are 18 teams here. 10 of them won this week, so slightly over half. Our team we follow is Findlay. They sort of got beat up by Toledo Central Catholic this week. I'm not remembering the numbers offhand, but it wasn't pretty. However, I still expect the Trojans to finish in the top 8 or so of this region. I was thinking top 4. However, I just heard that their senior quarterback is now out for the season with a torn ACL. So I have no idea the quality of the backup quarterback at Findlay or what this will do to the team. I guess we'll find that out in weeks to come.
It was a 54-21 game there.
Yeah, but Toledo Central Catholic, historically, very good team.
Historically pretty good.
Okay, moving down to Division Two, Region 8. There are 25 teams here, only 10 won. So if you happen to have lost this week, you're still in 11th place. That's in the top 16, so not too bad. That pretty much happens in every one of these regions, except Region 22, which we will get to much later. It was just one winner of the 4 teams we cover here. I was impressed to see that Lima Senior defeated Piqua last week. Lima Senior has a lot of games they're favored to win in their conference in the Toledo City League. In fact, taking a look at the rest of the conference and how they did in week one, I would expect Lima Senior might win all of their games in that conference. So good computer point season coming for Lima Senior, I believe. Sydney, Piqua, and Troy all lost this week. I'd say Troy probably looked the best of those 3 teams. The other 2, we're going to have to see how well Piqua and Sydney end up later on this season. In Division 3, Region 10, 26 teams here, 11 winners, so slightly less than half. One of our winners is Lima Shawnee. They are currently ranked exactly 11th in this region. They beat the smallest team of any of the other 11 teams there, the smallest division team. They beat Lima Central Catholic Thursday night, and that's a very nice win. Lima Central Catholic's last several years been very tough. Historically speaking, that win should earn Lima Shawnee a good number of computer points for the season's out, just maybe not in week 1.
Maybe not week 1.
The team we follow in this region who lost, Defiance. Defiance once again lived up to their reputation for having some of the most interesting games to watch. They lost the River Rock rivalry game against Napoleon 35-34 in overtime. In fact, I'm declaring this to be our
Scores of the Week.
Score of the week. It's been too long. I'm forgetting our theme songs.
For a little details here, Defiance scored a touchdown to tie the game 28-28 with 18 seconds left.
Oh my gosh.
They then missed what would have been the game-winning extra point and sent the game into overtime. Defiance had the ball first in overtime, scored a touchdown, and then went for the 2-point conversion and failed on that also. On Napoleon's turn, they also scored a touchdown, sent out the kicker, boom, between the uprights. Napoleon gets a win for the first time in the last 4 years in the River Rock rivalry.
Well, that's a fun story.
Oh, I think so. And Defiance, how many times have we talked about their games coming down to 2-point conversions or extra points or blocked punts? Or it makes me want to just subscribe to some broadcast and watch a Defiance game. Moving south in Division 3, Region 12, 27 teams here, only 12 winners, so less than half again. We follow 6 teams in this region, and 5 of them won, so our teams are looking good. Great start for Bellefontaine. They beat Sydney. Salina had a win over a weaker Columbus South team. Tip City had a mild upset, perhaps, over Bellbrook. St. Mary's got some revenge for their loss against St. Henry last year. I never understood that loss last year. That's why they play the games. And sometimes they don't go the way you expect. I like all 4 of those teams to actually finish in the top 8 and host a playoff game this year. We'll have to see, but I really think that's what they're all looking at.
We kind of got a sneak peek of the first round of the playoffs there.
Could be, yep. Now, Wapakoneta decided they didn't want to schedule Marion Local from Division 7 anymore, as they'd lost the last several years.
Oh boy.
So instead, they played Division 2 Toledo St. John's Jesuit, and they won it quite handily, if I remember right. This Toledo St. John's Jesuit team, they play 6 games in Michigan this season. So it's going to be tough to kind of figure out how good they are and how many computer points they might get. But I think they're going to finish around 5-5. So should generate some good points for Wapakoneta. And I also expect Wapakoneta to be finishing high in this region.
Sure is interesting. They'd rather play a Division 2 team and have good odds of winning than a Division 7 team and have not so good odds of winning.
And I'm just guessing, whatever the games at Walpock, I don't know where they played this year. I'm guessing Marion Local may have brought a few more fans to the game than Toledo St. John's Jesuit.
Yeah, just a few.
I'm sure there's other reasons that decision was made that I'm not aware of, and just leave it at that.
It was indeed at Wapakoneta, and Wapak beat St. John's Jesuit 35-21.
30, yeah. So about
Nice,
a
2
touchdown win.
touchdowns.
Yep. The team we follow in that region who lost is Greenville. They lost to Eaton. I'm afraid Greenville looks destined for another 1 to 2 win season this year. It does not appear from game 1 that they have taken a big leap forward with their program just yet. We shall see. In Division 4, Region 14, 26 teams here, 15 winners. So a little more than half. So a little tougher region, perhaps. Our winners, Van Wert, Napoleon, and Elida. We are going to start with Elida. They had a large win over Toledo Rogers, another one of those Toledo City League schools.
A shutout, 40-0.
40-0. Like I said, I'm not expecting too much competition for Lima Senior out of that Toledo City League. Back to Elida, they have an extremely backloaded schedule, by which I believe late in the season they play teams like Wapakoneta, Van Wert, St. Mary's, Salina. So early in the year, they need to pile up the wins. So this coming week, they play Lima Shawnee. Could be a very important game to their playoff hope. Let's see. We already mentioned Napoleon's win over Defiance. Van Wert easily defeated Bryan. Ben Logan, Ottawa Glandorf, and Kenton all suffered defeats. And I think the loser of this week's game against Ottawa Glandorf and Kenton is going to be in more than a little bit of trouble playoff-wise. They're going to start 0-2, and the schedule's only going to get tougher. So big game already next week between Ottawa Glandorf and Kenton.
I drove by that Ottawa Glandorf game last Friday. Looked like a pretty good turnout for the town. Pretty big bummer they didn't pull a win out of it, though.
Now you would have gone right, almost right by the stadium. You would have at least seen all the traffic up there. That's
sure did. Thankfully, I went by, I think, after the game started, so I didn't have to deal with too much movement around the football field.
Well,
but I did see quite a few tailgates being packed up in the adjacent driveways.
Well, it sounds like you must have been somewhere close to 7 o'clock around kickoff.
That sounds about right. I think I got to where I was going at like 8 o'clock, about 40 minutes away.
Yeah, you were probably there a little bit after kickoff then. All right. We're going to head down south now. Also in Division 4, Region 16, 27 teams here, 15 winners. So, again, a little more than half. The 2 teams we follow both won, Urbana and Tip City Bethel.
Woo!
Urbana beat Springfield Northeastern. We expected that. But Bethel greatly enhanced their playoff hopes with a win over National Trail, which was not what the computers expected based on last year's results. So it appears Bethel's maybe taken a step forward this year. Not as fun answer as that National Trail took a step back, but we'll assume Bethel coming forward here. In Division 5, Region 18, 25 teams, 15 winners. Our winners were Liberty Benton and Liberty Center.
Nice.
2 very expected wins for 2 teams, very much expected to make the playoffs. Not a whole lot more to comment on that at this time. We'll get more to them later in the season when we start trying to figure out who their playoff opponents are going to be. In Region 20, also still Division 5, 24 teams, only 10 winners.
Ooh, okay.
If you lost here, you're still number 11. We have, on the winning side, expected wins for expected playoff teams for Sales and West Liberty Salem. But another really nice win for Miami East over Greenon. Miami East, team that's had lesser success in recent years. I figure this puts them where they have a better chance of making the playoffs. I'm already looking ahead to week 9 when they play Tip City Bethel as being a big game for both teams come for as far as playoff qualifications going to go. It may be a little early to be saying that, but I got my eye out. It just that looks like a big one to me. Now, Arcanum suffered a huge loss to Covington, while Indian Lake, Lima Bath, Milton Union, and Graham, they also lost, but theirs were a little bit more expected. Expected seems wrong, but
Less surprising?
Less
Yeah.
surprising, yes. All right, moving into Division 6, where we're starting to get all those teams in our regions here. Region 22, 2017, 17 winners. That means if you lost here, you're 18th and technically out of the playoffs as of this date.
It's a good thing our
Still a lot of
season
time
lasts
for
more
those.
than one game.
Yeah, still a lot of time for those rankings to change. Last year, this region only had 10 winners in week 1, 17 this year. So I don't know if that tells us anything. It may mean some tougher teams moved into the region, or it may mean teams are a little better this year. I don't know. Time will tell. We'll start with Allen East, Bluffton, Paulding, Convoy Crestview, Mount Blanchard, Riverdale, Patrick Henry, and Spencerville. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that right? 1, 5. I lost track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
5, 6,
7 teams. Yeah,
1, 2, 7. Yep. Okay.
7 teams there who were all favored to win, and they did. So nothing too exciting there. It's a whole lot better than being favored to win and not winning.
Very true. Very true. We love a fulfilled promise.
Moving down to a little more intriguing wins, Sherwood Fairview and a win over Wauseon. And I have a feeling that win here may be the difference between whether they make or miss the playoffs. I will probably never remember to look come week 10. But I bet you if we look back, if you take away this week 1 win, they may not make playoffs. They look like a team that's going to be right on that edge. So good win for them in week 1. Van Buren had a greatly needed upset win over Fostoria. And I think they're another team. They haven't been in the playoffs in a while, as I remember. This win over Fostoria will help. I think next week's game against Lipsick will be incredibly huge for their postseason hopes, which seems so weird to say on week 2 of it. It just looks like a game that could go either way. And if your playoff hopes are borderline, you need to win the games that can go either way. So watch out for that one. Kenora, Hicksville Parkway, all lost big. Again, not a big surprise in any of these games. Wayne Trace had a closer loss and now may need a mild upset to make the playoffs. Hey, they have that Sherwood Fairview team in week 9. Maybe that's where they can get their mild upset.
Could be some
win.
good points. Yeah.
Anyway, Region 22, lots of stuff to watch for in week 9. Calling it now. Because we'll all forget by then, right?
Maybe. I'm experimenting with a thing called actually recording our notes and thoughts, and we'll see.
Oh, no. That could be bad news for me.
Just remember that whenever Paulding plays Wayne Trace, it's supposed to be a big game that the location might influence.
Okay. Let's see. In Division 6, we're following 2 other regions also. We'll start with Region 23. Another one, 17 winners out of 27 teams in this region. The teams we follow both lost, Mechanicsburg and North Lewisburg Triad.
Really?
They both underperformed the computer's expectations this week, and this was not going to be helpful to either one in their quest to make the playoffs, especially for Triad. Just reading around online, there were a lot of disappointed Mechanicsburg fans, whether they should have been or not, I have no idea, but there were a lot of not happy online fans. What's the odds? Someone online not happy, Rebekah?
Well, apparently that game was against Carlisle and was their rivalry game that they'd won 9 times in a row. So yeah, I would also be not happy if I were a Mechanicsburg fan and I just lost our super big rivalry. It'd be like Michigan pulling an upset on OSU.
That's
by
happened recently.
28 points.
28 points? Well, I feel good for Carlisle. Nothing's worse than losing your opening game of the season 9 years in a row.
Yeah. Oof, though.
Oh, congrats to congrats to Carlisle. If I had made a usable recording of the Team of the Week song, maybe we would make them the Team of the Week this week. But
A usable
people heard it.
recording.
I don't think anyone really wants to hear it, to be honest. Anyway.
Who rejected it first? Was that all Mom?
Well, it was a very happy gentleman came up to me at the B17 after action meeting where Mark Yoshikawa was paying for the drinks. I know that means nothing to any of you people listening, but Rebekah's smiling.
Means a lot to me. Yep.
And I told this guy, and he wanted to sing it, and he talked some lady into helping us. The lady got about 5 words in and said, heck no to this, and quit. And the two of us did not sound very good at all. So.
Oh, you sang too.
Yes.
Oh, no.
So anyway.
You don't have a bad voice. You just don't have an ear for tone.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, boy.
But anyway,
so
Carlisle,
maybe we'll have a good draft.
Yeah. Yes. Carlisle, you get the non-musical Team of the Week award. Here we go. In Region 24, 25 teams here, 13 winners, almost exactly half. We have Coldwater and Anna. Both slightly exceeded the computer's expectation in their wins. Lima Perry won by 30 points in what was supposed to be a toss-up game against New Lebanon-Dixie. Good news for Lima Perry. And we mentioned earlier, Covington beat Arcana by 27 points, bouncing back from a winless 2023. When you go 0-10 one year, it's awfully nice to win week 1 the next. Get that monkey off your back right away. And they did it in style.
And we were projecting them to come in last in the region. So maybe they'll prove us wrong.
Covington.
Yeah.
Other than not liking to be proven wrong. I'm behind Covington part of the way.
Part of the way? We're not committing too hard.
No, not hard at all. Because, we cover all the teams they're going to play, too. We can't come too hard on the Covington bandwagon here. All right. That leaves us with Division 7.
Big boy.
We'll start with Region 26. 25 teams here, 12 winners. And look at that list. We have lots of winners and lots of losers from week 1 here. And we'll start with Ada. They won a tight 15-14 game against Upper Sauter Valley. Thought about making that the game of the week, but I just love those close defiance games too much. Corey Rawson also had a nice 29-22 upset over Arcadia. Corey Rawson had a 1-9 record last year, a 2-8 record the year before, and I don't think it was much better the years before that. So 1-0 Corey Rawson. Maybe this is the year we get them back again. I still remember going to a Corey Rawson playoff game at Eden one year, arranged for myself and friend to get press passes, and we were about the only press at the game, and our only press was we were going to put a note on JJ Huddle saying what happened. So
they were happy to have the publicity.
I did get a nice half of a Subway sub out of the deal. The athletic director had the press room stocked. So
they stocked the press room
yes, they did.
For 2 guys who would make 1 internet post.
There were 2 other people there. One was from some shopping newspaper type deal, once a week thing. And I don't know where the other guy was from, but neither one would ask a question. So it was up to my good friend Keith Hunsinger and I to come up with questions for the coaches and give them something to talk about and feel good. So,
oh boy.
But anyway, where are we at? Corey Rawson. Oh yes. Delphus Jefferson, Macomb, Antwerp, Arlington, Columbus Grove, Delphus St. John's all had much more expected wins this week. Looking good in week 1. See, the season toughens up here in the next couple of weeks. On the other side of the coin, Defiance Ayersville. I have down they were unexpectedly destroyed by Delta. That sounds pretty strong, but I believe it was by 40 points or something. It was not pretty. This will make Ayersville's playoff participation much dicier losing this week 1 game. Leipzig also upset by Millbury Lake, as was Lima Central Catholic by Lima Shawnee, as we mentioned earlier. 3 other teams lost this week. Hardin Northern, Pandora Gilboa, and Van Loo also lost, not surprisingly, unfortunately. And now we move south to Region 28. Same thing here. Lots of winners and lots of losers. We had 12 winners here out of the 25 to 27 teams, as I put down. If you are watching on YouTube, you will see the chart list 27 teams. If you go to Joe Idle, you'll see he lists 25. That's because I'm pretty sure two of the teams are never going to play any games this year, but I haven't taken them off my list yet. Joe gave up on them already, so it's probably going to be a 25 team region before all is said and done.
Interesting. Okay. Just not enough players, or they couldn't find anyone to put on the schedule?
One of them's Dayton Jefferson, and they've been listed as a team for years and haven't played in, I bet it's been at least 3 years. I forget the other one. It was someone down in Cincinnati, like Riverview East Academy or something like that. There's a couple of teams down in Cincinnati that one year they have a team, one year they don't, and you never know. And apparently this is the year they don't have a team.
Okay then.
That's why this region is never as tough as it looks just by the number of teams. There's always a couple that end up not playing or only playing a couple of games, or they're not real serious contenders come playoff time. I'm going to start with DeGraff Riverside in this region. They had a nice 41-32 win over Ansonia. Last year, Ansonia was first or second. I think maybe Marion Local was first and Ansonia second in computer points, but it was close as I recall. With this win, Riverside might be the one fighting for the top spot or two in the computer points this year. They were up there last year also. And Ansonia, you would think that's a team that'll be worth a good number of points before the season's done.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big game right off the bat.
Yep, and I believe Ansonia won this matchup last year. I believe they played last year, week 1 also. So on the more expected front, New Bremen, Port Recovery, Marion Local, Minster, that's 4 MAC teams. Tri-Village, Waynesfield, Goshen, all had victories that the computers found were probable. On the other side, we have Bradford, Fort Laramie, Miss Cinnamal Valley, Ridgemont, Sidney Lehman, St. Henry, and Troy Christian all took losses that were not surprising to anyone. Well, I shouldn't say that. Not surprising to the computers I looked at that took these things based on last year's results. So really this region, the Riverside Ansonia game was the only really dramatic result from this region this week 1.
I remember
Hopefully
right.
That'll get a little more. Go ahead.
Fort Recovery wasn't supposed to do all that hot. Were they playing a team that was maybe not MAC caliber? Or
Recovery, if I remember right, has 26 people on their roster. They had a large number of players decided they'd rather. The word I had from someone who used to teach some kind of music at Fort Recovery is they decided they'd rather get jobs so that they can go buy pickup trucks instead of going out for sports. I've heard that same comment before. Yeah, you do what you want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do what makes you happy. So anyway, we're hoping this region has a little more, a little less predictable in weeks to come. A little more excitement here. Now we're done with divisions 1 through 7. That always leads us to our 8-man football. The only thing with that is the 8-man football teams decided this year they're not going to start till week 2. So we have no results from 8-man football. Next week, their season kicks off.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know exactly why, other than the fact they play 2 playoff games instead of 6. So they don't have a need to start earlier. And, might as well. It was kind of hot last week, right? Let school get started, start a week later. That makes a lot of sense to me. So,
yeah, I'm guessing they made that decision well in advance of last week, but if I had the option between playing the same week school starts and the week later, I would probably pick the week later.
Yeah, and sounds good to me, I tell you. Although there's something about you can get a lot of practice and things in when there's no school going on and no homework afterwards. But boy, True. It just tends to be warm in August.
Yeah, it sure does.
Especially in southern Spain, I tell you.
Gotta tie it all back together. Maybe next week, instead of the heat of southern Spain, we can talk about the drama in the Olympic gymnastics community.
Ooh.
Teaser.
I think you. Oh, okay. And because next week, when we are recording this, the writers are actually on a plane flying to the north of Spain, where it's supposed to be 10 to 15 degrees cooler. So Good news for them, and good news
Might
for
be a
you.
few more
You get to hear
mountains.
good news for the listeners who get to hear gymnastics talk next week. So we will be back next week after week 2 of the regular season. I have been doing a little more research, Rebecca,
Oh,
and
have you?
I found that most podcasts have a fairly standard ending here.
Sure.
And so I have put our details into it, and I will read the more standard ending here and see what you think.
Oh boy.
This was Bruce Monnin's Computer Points with Bruce Monnin and Rebekah Monnin. Produced by me, Bruce Monnin. Executive produced by Rebekah Monnin. Pre-podcast research by Bruce Monnin. In-broadcast research by Rebekah Monnin. Theme song by Huma Huma, who made it available to the public on the internet. Engineering by Bruce Monnin. Talent booking by Bruce Monnin. You
We
can
have
rate and review
engineering?
this. Yeah, that was earlier. You missed it already.
Okay. Okay.
We got to have engineering, don't we?
I mean, we both have degrees for it.
You can rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts. Have a comment question for us? It can be sent to bdmonnin@nktelco.net or submitted on Twitter, now known as X, to @BruceMonnin, where it may be used on a future episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast wherever fine podcasts are downloaded, such as the Apple iTunes Store, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or on our YouTube channel. Search for Bruce Monnin's Computer Points. You know, Rebecca, I think that'd be more effective if we had more other names to sprinkle in there.
Yeah, normally those credits are read when they've got a staff that did a lot of good work that they want to give credit to.
Well, maybe we'll have some volunteers. People want to step up and reduce our workload.
Hey, if you want to sing the Team of the Week theme song, you too could get into the credits. We would
Ooh,
thank
I
you
like that.
every time.
Send us an email and I will send you the lyrics, the suggested lyrics. You, of course, may use your own artistic talents to modify as necessary.
We're really not attached to them that much. But we are attached, I believe, to the fact that it should be sung to the theme of Sweet Caroline.
Very much so, yes. Very
You
much
can
so.
also send any comments or questions or concerns or volunteers to sing on our podcast to us via the YouTube comment section.
Which we'll have
We
to
have
start
had
looking
no
at.
comments so far. I just did a little peek,
Oh, okay, good.
but there's potential.
Potential. All right. And that means we'll have to start reading those.
I don't think it'll
And
be
with
too
that-
demanding.
No, probably not. And with that, we are out of here and sending you on your way to enjoy week 2 of the high school football season. So long, everybody.